Hey everyone, Dan Gingiss. I am the experience maker, customer experience speaker, and coach. Great to have you here for another episode of the Experience Maker. It's casual day here today, as you can tell by my attire. And you might get a little extra bonus noise today because I have a whole bunch of workers in the house today getting floors and tiles and carpets, oh my, being done. So excuse any noise that you hear in advance. I'm super excited to welcome today's guest today. He is the founder and CEO of a company called Hectic, Darryl Kelly. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, Dan, how are you? Hi. What is
I am
this,
great.
LinkedIn, YouTube
right?
world? Yeah, it's been a while.
Well, it's always great to catch up with you. And you and I actually first met when you were in a different role. Tell us about what you've been up to the last year and a half, and then tell us about Hectic.
Yeah, before I get into me, congratulations on this last year. I feel like your brand, all the content that you've been putting out, I've been watching it, I've been reading it. Well done. It's been so helpful. As you know, I'm not going to use the buzzwords, but through a time that was very unusual, it was really good, really great content that was really insightful.
Well, I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah. So what have I been up to? So Hectic. Oh, where do you even start with such an awesome thing that I'm so passionate about? So I've lived most of my career in a very corporate background. From consulting to CX to BPO to the technology side of customer experience, but very much in your typical tech and service roles. On the side, I also ran a photography studio, did freelance photography, and it was always a passion of mine. It was always something that I went to for inspiration, where I went to for rest. And it was just a great way for me to connect with my community and connect with others and stimulate my creative side. After I left my former company, Connect First, we exited, we sold it to Ring Central. There was a period where I was working on post-merger acquisitions and just working on integrating our company with Ring Central. It was a blast. It was so much fun. And I got back into the tech world. I got bit. I got the bug. I'm sure everyone is in it. And you fall in love with these great communities, working with a ton of people. And, you know, I've always had this interest of continuing to go smaller, continuing to go smaller, continuing to go smaller. And I did that with Connect First. And then I found myself back in big world. And so I got stuck into it, as I tell myself. And then COVID happened and I made a transition to a company called TTEC. Wonderful company. And Dan, that's when we started interacting with each other more. And as soon as I came on to TTEC, I was there for a month. I think it was only 3 weeks. And COVID lockdown quarantine happened. And it put me in this place of isolation through spring and summer. And it put me in this place of a lot of reflection. And I was connecting with Jeff Mena, who is the former CEO of Connect First. He's Hectic's co-founder and COO. And we were talking about and ideating around, you know, what are some of the problems that exist in the world? We were observing what's happening through COVID. And I was talking to him about how, you know, my freelancing business on the side was going downhill and how many deposits I was paying back. And we leaned into that conversation of, oh man, how many people are in that exact same boat where they're paying deposits back. They're trying to figure out, what does small business look like? What does solo entrepreneur type businesses look like? And the new term is solopreneur. What are these independent creative or independent type creator businesses look like during COVID? And we paid attention to that. And instead of it continuing to go down, some industries did go down, but a lot of industries went up. I think the statistic in 2020 is 53% of Americans tried out some form of independent creating, freelancing, and that's excluding typical gig workers, Uber, Lyft, Postmates, etc. And so in my heart, I was thinking about, one, the stage that I was at as a freelancer, kind of getting through a lot of bumps and curves and ups and downs from growth and consistent customers, and how hard it was to get there. And I come from business. I come from big business. I have an MBA, and it was difficult for me. And given it was because I was running two things at a time, But I think that's a part of the story. A lot of people in this independent creating space are often juggling two things at a time. They have their quote unquote day job, and then they have this passion, this dream that they want to make into a reality for themselves. It's very difficult because right now the bar is so low and there's somewhat of a stigma around freelancing. It's okay, you're freelancing to fill a bridge or to take a gap, or you're doing it in college. And in my heart, I feel as if freelancing, and everyone at Hectic believes this exact same thing, that freelancing should be a thing that is seen as a career. I'm not a freelancer. I'm a small business owner. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a solopreneur. I'm a creator. I'm connected to an audience and a community that only I can speak into and deliver value from just my being and existing. And then also it provides work-life balance that you'll never be able to accomplish in the modern workplace. And so that inspired Hectic. That was very long-winded, but that inspired Hectic is really how difficult it is to start, manage, and grow a freelancing business, and how intangible it is. I mean, the myth is freelancing is really hard to grow, and it is very, very hard to grow. It takes a lot of resilience. It takes a lot of grit. It's very disorganized. It's, when we were doing market research late last year, the number one competitor that we have in the space is sticky notes and fragmented Excel documents. And I need to just Google to send an invoice, or I need to just Google and send a proposal. And we believe that is what's keeping the industry back. Is you have a lot of fragmentation. There's not a lot of true optimization where you can focus on the awesome places of the business, and then have a system in place and the support by a company to help you figure out the important components. And so Hectic right now is a product. It'll continue to grow in terms of giving you more and more of recreating the environment that you would get in a traditional workforce to help you continue to grow your business. The vision for Hectic is, it really is this concept, this place where working for yourself should be just as easy for working for someone else, right? You get out of college, you go onto LinkedIn, you work with some recruiters, you have the support to work and manage and grow and take your career in one direction or another. And that's what Hectic is about. So taking all of my experience from consulting, all of my experience from freelancing, all of my experience from the CX space, and bringing it together for small businesses is the goal.
Well, not to mention, when you work for yourself, you get to work for the smartest, best looking, and nicest boss, right? And that's one of the main advantages. I also want to compliment you and thank you for only showing me half the sign behind you, because this is a family show. But I want to show you that I have a mug that's exactly the same thing, and you guys can guess what the word in the middle is there. It's such a perfect phrase for somebody working in and helping freelancers, because that really is. It's like every day it's about, man, here's my list. I got 1,000 things. Now, where do we focus on, and how do we be productive?
Right.
So, Darryl, I want to specifically zoom in on your CX background and kind of how that's helping you frame this, because what's cool is you're building something from scratch. And so you have the luxury of building customer experience and user experience in from the beginning versus having to retrofit, which so many existing companies have had to do. Just tell me about maybe the process for how you guys have gone through and tried to make sure that every step that you're building is customer friendly.
Yeah, absolutely. So you nailed it with experience and, the concept of hindsight. You always can see so much clearer when you look into the past. And so I fortunately have had the experience of working with some of the largest brands in the world and seeing that CX is often a reactionary type thing. There's some brands that do it really, really well, and they have it as a part of their values. It's a guiding belief. They then have actions that surround it. It's reinforced really, really well, where all the touch points are just beautifully integrated, and it's a great customer experience. Over the years, I think that with technology, we've really reduced customer experience to the best platform, or having, the fastest response times, or being fully integrated and understanding the entire customer journey. Yes, those things are very, very important. But I think that we've lost a little bit of the ideology behind customer experience before there was all the technology. I want to go back to what you said about when you become a small business owner, it's just, you have all these things going and all these things are moving. That happens at scale where the teams are growing and busy becomes one of the productivity measures, unfortunately. And we don't even know that we're in that trap between busy and productive. Yeah. And I think it's the same thing with CX, where we think, oh man, our average handle time, super low. Awesome, sweet, high five. Those are just metrics. And I think that they're important. Deflection is important. Making sure that we're meeting customers where they are important. But if it's not core and central to the DNA of every single thing that you do, customer experience then becomes your limiting factor. And it absolutely will become it doesn't matter what technology you put in place. If it's not in the DNA of every single touch point, it will become the limiting factor. And so that's what I've taken and what we've taken. I'm fortunate enough to have awesome founders that share this background, that we don't have a brand if we don't think about the strategic relationship first. A lot of times we bring products and services to market, and I'm going to use this term loosely, but we somewhat commoditize them because we make it so much about the service. We make it so much about the product and less about the relationship that we are providing between product, brand, and customer. It's one relationship. It's one thread all the way through. And we love to fragment it. We have to stop fragmenting it. I have to stop fragmenting it. And so that was a big piece of starting Hectic, is obsessing over the customer. And Amazon, they have the chair in the room, but it's about that intentionality of where is the customer in this journey. It actually came up this week again when our head of brand Felice, he was giving us feedback on how to give feedback. And it was so brilliant because this is customer experience at its finest. He said, when we give feedback, we need to do it from a perspective of not what I feel, but what's connecting with the audience. So what does the customer feel? What is distracting from the customer experience? How are they navigating through the website? How are they navigating through the product? Let's talk more objectively and from the point of view of the person that we're serving. And that's important to understand that strategic relationship. And then more importantly is understanding who we're serving. I think one of the critical elements that a lot of us get wrong when it comes to CX is we truly don't have a strong identification of who our customer is, where our customer is spending time, how our customer derives value from our brand. What are the sticking points for the customer? Why did they choose us? Why do they continue to choose us? That ideal customer profile, we do it so well from an enterprise perspective when we're selling because we want the models to be really efficient, but then we don't do the same thing when it comes to go to market. Maybe we have our personas, but that is so isolated into marketing. When CX customer experience and great brands don't leave customer experience and the customer profile on an island in marketing. The best brands in the world allow that profile to really resonate through product, where you're having a product call and the product team knows what YouTube videos the customer is watching, or the customer support agents know what YouTube channels the customers are watching. And maybe they're watching those same videos and they can connect over, oh yeah, I saw Dan on the Experiencer Maker Live. Those are the points where if you know the customer really, really well, you know what's going to work and serve them well. And that's going to increase loyalty. And then it's going to increase that perspective of, I have a strategic relationship with this brand. This brand cares about me as an individual. Hyper-personalization is something that we're obsessing over right now. And we're allowing technology to get us 80% of the way, but we're not putting enough effort into what comes before technology. And that is the vision. That is the understanding. That is obsessing about collecting feedback and then continuing to collect feedback and then becoming obsessive about it, where every single touch point in the company is aware of our customer, the value that we bring, and then how we reinforce it. The controls are just as important as the identification. So how do we reinforce a good experience, even if it's not customer facing? A bad experience can exist in innovation meetings. A bad experience can exist in product meetings. A bad experience can exist at the front door with executive assistants. It goes all the way end to end. And oftentimes we keep CX as, oh, that's customer support, so that's this island, or that's marketing. They own the ideal customer profile. And we have to stop doing that. So that was a very long-winded answer. I apologize for that.
Darryl, what I love about you is here. I'm going to do the mic drop right here. I'm out. I don't need to be here. We just let you talk because you're just dropping all the knowledge bombs. There are two things that I caught there that I really wanted to focus on. The first is I love that you said customer experience can become the limiting factor if you don't focus on it. Yeah. What I love about that is I always talk about customer experience being the brand differentiator. Mm-hmm. That is when you do focus on it. But I haven't actually thought about it the opposite way, which is that you're totally right, that it can be the limiter if you don't, because if you're not focused on it, your competitor likely is. I also particularly liked that you were talking about hyper-personalization. And I was going to ask you, as you were defining, you're talking about personas and sort of this typical marketing way of looking at things. And it's always occurred to me, I never liked personas, to be honest, because let's face it, if I'm a persona, I'm somehow a middle-aged white guy in suburban Chicago, and with two kids, and yet there's a million of me. And so that doesn't really boil it down very much. And even if there's another middle-aged white guy with two kids right next door to me, we're two completely different people that may use a product completely differently and have different needs and wants. And so when we try to bucket people into these large groups, I get why marketers do it. But at the end of the day, it works only if you have a very broad offering, because it doesn't take long to get to the point where you see, oh, this is Dan, and Dan needs these things, whereas his next door neighbor might need something else. So as you're building a product, again, kind of on the fly here, how are you getting that kind of feedback? What are the methods that you're using to listen to customers and to make sure that you're hearing how Dan and his neighbor might be using your products completely differently?
It's somewhat of a problem. It's obsessive at this point. So data governance and having a good data model was really important for us for day one. And not all companies have the privilege, right? We've all been into the poor implementations of Salesforce or very fragmented data structures. We have the benefit of, from day one, visioning out that question. How do we get to know the Dans of the world, the Haleys of the world, the Thomases of the world, the Chandlers? I'm naming real customers at this point because we know who real customers are. And that's not reserved for startups. If you're a Fortune 2 company, you should have a handful. Everyone should have a handful of customers' names that they have in their head and they know who they are on a personal level. This is probably going to be a little weird, but I'll go on and look at their websites. I'll look at their Instagram, and it's because it's me taking interest in who they are as a person. It allows me to be able to provide a better experience and get to that hyper personalization level. Yes, at scale, it becomes more of a challenge, and that's where technology will help support it. But right now, it is something that we have built into place. So we're using a few data analytics platforms. One, we're using KISS metrics, which we've implemented brilliantly. So we know the entire journey from the customer from day one. We know which ad campaign they came in from, a keyword, if they came in from Instagram. And then where we've done a really great job is we've connected both product and marketing really well. So we have calls once a week where we go through the entire journey. And yes, at scale, this is going to change. And I know a lot of your audience are more middle and late and they're at scale, but there are some principles here that I hope people can take away and go, okay, how do we fit this into some of our processes, because the simplicity of them works. So at scale, we bring product, we bring marketing, we bring UX together, and we even bring our content teams together, because this is what's really important, is allowing content to be a part of hearing someone from product go, oh, that's why they're doing this. Because, okay, they came in from this keyword. This is what they did, and this is why they're doing this. I understand that. And it's a conversation that we can have holistically. And so we think about the customer journey and why it's so fragmented from a technology perspective. It's because it's fragmented from a share of thought perspective as well. And so that's number one. Ignore the technology. We share, right? I love the concept of coupling. We share the entire customer journey as a company, period. Everyone is responsible for the customer journey. And if there's one takeaway you can take away from this conversation, is Everyone is responsible for the customer journey and journeys, and should know them, and should know specific people in the customer journey, no matter where they're at in the funnel or the stage of the journey. Okay. So taking a step back, talking about technology. So we use KISS metrics that we've implemented at a very, very granular level, where we go in and we can see the way that people are interacting with our product. And so, they came in from this term, let's call it freelancing, just to make it easy. They came in from freelancing, they clicked a few things on the website, they clicked get started, and then we obsess over what are the touch points. We believe in 10, 20, 30x value. If we can get to 30x value, high five. That's the goal. Where people don't think about the cost of what they're paying for the subscription or for the product, where there's just so much overwhelming value that it's on autopilot. And that's why we also don't have contracts or annual commitments, because we believe it's our job to do this obsessive piece of understanding how we provide you 10, 20, 30x value. And, that's going to hurt us, when we go fundraise, but it's fine, because we believe that it's our duty, it's our job to provide value. Okay. So back to the technology, KISS metrics. We look at the dashboards every single day. We look at the journeys. We try to suspend judgment and be as objective as possible, and just collect and learn. And then once we have enough data, then we respond. Respond and reacting are two different things. And it almost happened. I was watching it in our Slack channel the other day, and someone gave us some feedback, and everyone swarmed around. Okay, what about this? What about this? What about this? And then we were reacting. And then someone goes, hey, hold on. Why don't we just take a breath and think about how this aligns across the entire customer journey? And let's lean into the data and see if there's more customers that are experiencing this. And in that was the brilliance for having the best customer experience possible, is because we're listening well to the customers. We know the entire journey. We know the touch points. We obsess over the touch points, and we have the technology to reinforce it. So we have KISS metrics from a just pure data perspective. And then we also are using Hotjar, and we're identifying how people are navigating through the website by name. Very important, by name, and also how that connects back to the questions that are being engaged with on intercom. It's all connected. Every single thing is connected. And so, Dan, on my side here, in KISS metrics, I know what you're doing on this site now. I know how much time you're spending in each area. I know how you're clicking around, and then if you abandon here, I know when you come back, and then how you engage when you come back. And then also when you go ahead and convert and you get started for free, then boom, I know exactly how you're experiencing that. We have a vision for what's the first 5 minutes look like? What's the first 10 minutes look like? What's the first week look like? What's the first year look like? That all goes back to the intentionality that technology will never do. That's important that we focus on as CX leaders. And anyone is a CX leader. I think that's so important, is that we all are CX leaders. You may be a customer service agent. You're a CX leader. You may be at the front desk. You're a CX leader, because every single touch point matters. And there's data that you're collecting about Dan Gingiss, the middle-aged white male. Well, that continues to profile out when we know more and more people are connected and go, oh, I connect with Dan actually because Dan loves Impossible Foods. I know Dan loves Impossible Foods. I love Impossible Foods. Cool. All right. Well, we know that about Dan. Okay, cool. He does all these cool, so it starts to complete that hyper-personalization because it's more share of knowledge and it creates more space for it. Another tangential.
Well, I love it, and I look forward to the remarketing campaigns that I will now be subject to for scrolling down your site. So, folks, you can visit hecticapp.com to learn more about it, especially if you are a freelancer. You need this technology behind you. Darryl, how can people get a hold of you if they would like to learn more?
Yeah, so I'm here on LinkedIn, Darryl Kelly. I think that's the URL. It's either Darryl Kelly or Darryl Kelly _. Instagram is also fun. I'm working on this journey mentally as well. There's a lot of hustle and a lot of weight that I think we're all carrying around with us. And so my Instagram is a space for just unpacking that, walking through my journey. I think we've got stuck in this cycle as a society where it's so much about performance, where we're not caring for ourselves. If we can care for ourselves, we can care for others better. So I had to add that plug into there. I think it's important. Take a deep breath, because as a CX leader, if you take care of yourself, you'll be able to take care of the customer experience better.
Totally agree, and a great piece of advice to end on. Thank you, Darryl, so much for your time today. Really appreciate it, and your insights. Awesome conversation.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
Check out hecticapp.com if you would like to learn more. Hey, I wanted to make two quick announcements. First of all, this has been episode number 60. I can't believe I've been doing this for so long. So thank you, Darryl, for being my 60th guest here on the show, The Experience Maker. It is so much fun to meet people, and everyone I learned something from, and I hope that you do as well. So just because Darryl was 60th doesn't mean that he is anywhere far away from the top of the list. It just happens that that's where he got into line, and we're really happy to have him here. I also wanted to tell you, of course, that I have a new book coming out. This is an advanced copy of The Experience Maker: How to Create Remarkable Experiences That Your Customers Can't Wait to Share. And you might notice I said it was an advanced copy. That's right, because it's available for pre-order only right now. However, if you would like to get a pre-ordered copy by going to Amazon or Barnes & Noble or Books A Million or Walmart.com and purchasing a copy, send me your receipt to dan@dangingiss.com, and I will send you a signed advanced copy so that you can read the book before anyone else on the planet. Really appreciate it. Appreciate you being here as always. My name is Dan Gingiss. I'm a customer experience speaker and coach. We'll see you next week. Actually, I forgot to tell you who's going to be on next week. Next week, we're going to welcome Andrew and Pete, the infamous marketers from across the pond, who are so much fun. Some of the best speakers I have heard, and great insights on marketing. Come join Andrew and Pete. Yes, they are known as Andrew and Pete. I don't even know their last names, but they're going to be awesome. And come join us next Thursday. We're here next Thursday and every Thursday at noon Eastern on the Experience Maker Show. Thanks a lot. Have a great rest of your week.